out. So these guys in the tobacco shop said, oh no, that doesn't mean that. So I was helped by these three sources, by the way. But Judith Heiberg's book is a wonderful book. Are any of you here familiar with it?
How do you spell that?
Tyberg. In Tyberg's book, but not only there, guru is translated into English as a teacher, right? Okay. There are three different aspects to this. Number one, teachers transfer to their students only the information they are supposed to, while learners receive that information the best they can. This is in the dictionary. Got it? So, you've been taught what you've been taught, and you've learned it the best you can, and the teacher's done the best it can to transfer that information to you. And second, information that conflicts with what is taught and learned is discouraged and not taught. Have any of you ever experienced that?
Yep.
3, innate potential capacities that might conflict with what is to be taught, learned, are likewise discouraged, not taught, and not developed into reality. Actuality, rather. Have any of you experienced that? Were you taught remote viewing in grade 1? Why not? Were you taught telepathy in the 3rd grade? Why not? Did you ever wonder why not? I'll be easy on you here tonight. Where's my two gurus here? Okay. Heiberg, and I'm sure she's correct, defines a guru as one who has the capacity to pass on his realizations to those who seek him for wisdom. There may be an outer guru or guide who removes ignorance by the radiant light of his divine wisdom, or the inner guru, self, who is the guide working through the intuitive part of man. Have you ever been worked with intuitively by any of your teachers? Yes, I have. They're good teachers, aren't they? Yeah. Okay, there's one guru that can pass on his realizations of what he's learned, and it falls into the category of a teacher. Are you with me on this? There's a second guru, the inner guru, who is the guide working through the intuitive part of man. That's the 4th loka he's talking about, the intuitional loka, which we call intuition. Do we not? How many of you had intuition experiencing? I have to make sure of the audience, you know. Do you know where the word guru comes from in Sanskrit?
No.
It comes from the root meaning gri, G-R-I, meaning to invoke, to praise. So a guru is basically supposed to be, anyway, invoke something in his chelas or his students. What would be the most likely thing that the second guru would try to invoke in his students? Intuition. He uses his intuition to invoke the intuition category or capacities of his students. That's different from just left hemisphere teaching, isn't it? That falls sort of into a right hemisphere interaction between teacher and student. We don't know that, but they knew it way back when, these Sanskrit people. Now, have I boggled you enough so far? Yes? So invoke means to awaken, right? To bring into existence, to turn on the switch. Any of those things here. And it's done by the intuitive interpenetrating part of whatever's interpenetrating it, which is universal, apparently, because it pervades all existence. So you can awaken intuition, and when you awaken intuition, you awaken the powers of intuition. We think of all this differently, you see. We think all of these powers are separate things. But what if they're all functions or modulations of intuition? Precognition, telepathy, so forth and so on, are just modulations of what we have translated into English from the Sanskrit as intuition. Just turning the dial on the band or something like that. And when the Sanskrit people got together, they thought they could, you have forewarnings, you have premonitions, you have this and that. These are spontaneous occurrences, right? If you work for them, you don't get them. I'm talking about the spontaneous experiential kind. Because if you don't plan to have them and they happen anyway, then they're more real, as if you try to happen and you mess it up. So these things, let's divide intuition in compartments, but it's all rotating. They're all interpenetrating with each other and everything. And at a certain modulation, you get intuition, what we would call intuition. We also could get telepathy, we could get clairvoyance, we could get traveling clairvoyance, and now remote viewing as it's now known, things like that. And these were referred to as the siddhis, S-I-D-D-H-I-S in Sanskrit. And there's a great deal of argument among scholars about how many siddhis there are. Some say 7, some say 50, and you know, like philosophers like to try to outdo each other all the time. The term siddhis translated in English with very good authority for many, well, a few centuries anyway, as an attainment. And I personally believe that's a bad choice of words, because it should be translated a little bit more as becoming in an awakening of some kind on the intuitive levels. Anyhow, they're called attainments in the literature, the act of attaining, the condition of being attained, something attained, and an accomplishment. I shall now pick a few of these siddhis and taken from the Sutras of Patanjali. Are you all familiar with that? Do you sleep with it under your pillow? Yes. Try. They're all about the siddhis. It's all about the siddhis. Siddhis. And he's got X amount of sutras. I forgot how many sutras there are. Tells you how to get out of the... One of the sutras tells you how to elevate out of the interpenetrating, entangled mind, for instance. Others tell you to do this and how to do this and so forth and so on. And the sutras in Sanskrit mean thread. There's a thread, we can think of it as a thread of consciousness. And there are these little beads on it. And each one is a sutra. It's all part of consciousness. Oh, there are 95 sutras in his book. There's one sutra, siddhi, that is called Trikala Jnani Siddhi. And the least complicated way of defining this siddhi is given as attainment of knowledge, knowing of past, present, and future via divining deeply into an object, premonition, phenomenon, or idea. Do you know how to do that? I'm not quite sure I do, but I thought I'd ask you anyway. There's